Hello, I'm Dr. Craig Stern of Pharma Pharmaceutical Consultants. We've had several questions about contracts that health plans write with PBMs, or that self-insured employers or unions or counties, cities, states, etc. write with PBMs and or health plans, and have asked, what should we be looking at? This is a pretty big topic, and certainly it's one that consultants have a significant amount of involvement in. But I would like to hit a couple of topics that I think are incredibly important, and that is two areas that are underappreciated frequently when we talk about formulas. What do I mean? There are two areas, namely definitions and formulas for calculating many of the guarantees that are in contracts. They are typically in the boilerplate or in the master contract. They're not part of the term sheet. People spend a significant amount of time looking at the term sheet as to what they're going to pay, and rightly so. But they tend to not appreciate the fact that what they're paying is frequently based on what is defined in the definitions and what is established in the formulas. So I would like to point out a couple of areas here that I think everybody should effectively raise the level of significance, raise the level of visibility for, so that they can understand how important they are. And that is, if someone tells you that you're going to be paying a given rate, the question is, for what and how is it defined? I know that this sounds relatively simple, maybe even trivial, but the bottom line here is when you're paying for drugs, there is a major concern about what drugs are you paying for, and what if you say brand, what does that mean, and what drugs are going to be covered under brand, etc. It is important that one looks at the definitions, ensures the fact that you have definitions that are consistent with either your benefit and your requirements, or with the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA requirements. They publish definitions, so it's well established, they're universal, and everyone knows what they are. And to deal with definitions that are used in the agreement so that you have an understanding that fits with your benefit rules, with your benefit design, with your claim adjudication logic or your business logic for adjudicating claims, so that all of those are in line. If they are, then you have a better chance that when you're supposed to be paying a given rate for a brand, generic, or any other kind of product, compound or anything else, that it is based on a definition that you can agree to and something that you agree with. Secondly is formulas. Now, frequently in guarantees, there's these issues of a guarantee that you're going to get for a given a drug, and one expects that, oh, that means for every claim. In fact, it probably isn't for every claim. It's probably a guarantee across all claims that are generic, or all claims that are brand or otherwise. I've talked about in the past, in prior of these educational series, about definitions of brand and generic, and something about some of the averages. But I'd like to make a note here that when I'm talking about averages right now and contracts, I'm talking about formulas. How do you calculate these averages? You need to make sure that you understand what they are. And the most important thing is not only how are they being calculated. Clearly you want to make sure it fits with whatever your actuaries, your internal auditors, perhaps your financial people can all calculate independently, so that they have an independent number. But more importantly, that you can ensure the fact that it's something that makes sense. For example, frequently there are averages, and those averages are used in very gross averages. Maybe they're averages that are going across a soft cost with regard to average wholesale price, or some other proxy for actual drug costs that is being used. And you want to use actual drug costs. Maybe you don't, maybe you do, but more importantly, if you've got a formula and it is based on one of these forms, you want to make sure you understand exactly what that formula is, and that your finance people can reproduce it. Remember that if you're using a proxy for actual drug cost, you definitely want to make sure that you're using weighted averages, et cetera, the same as you would in finance and the stock market, in inventories, et cetera, because that really gets down to how many am I getting of an expensive one, how many am I getting of a cheap one, and I'm not just getting a gross average that kind of mushes that whole thing out, so I can't really tell. They're important issues. Please, when you look at contracts, make sure that you look at the definitions and at the formulas. Thanks so much for spending time with me. I look forward to speaking with you again.